Hello and welcome to another episode of Speculative Speculations. I'm Varsha,
I am Jared.
And I am Chris.
and this is a series where we talk about speculative stories in all their forms. We are continuing our way through Redemption Ark by Alastair Reynolds. It's the second book in the Inhibitors trilogy. I think that's it. That's the name of the trilogy, the Inhibitors. Um, we're going to be talking about chapters 19 through 23 today.
Yes.
Next week is going to be chapters 24 through 28. Did I get that right?
Yes.
We'll continue working our way through Redemption Arc. I think we have two more discussions left after this, at which point we will pick up Solaris by Stanislaw Lem. We may or may not continue with the trilogy. We will decide when we get to the end of the book.
Ooh.
Ready? Okay. So it sounds like Chris has made up his mind. We'll hear about it today based on how the chapters go. Short story for today is, well, Chris will tell us those because I do not have them prepped and he does.
So it's Passing as a Flower in the City of the Dead, great title by S N Dyer. And the short story for next week is William Gibson. We're in a bit of a run with big name authors in these short story tales, but it's called New Rose Hotel. And it's about 5 pages just for those that get excited by shorter ones like me.
Yeah, we're going to pretend like it's not all of us here who get excited by shorter stories. and I think it's been a quick detour before we get into the Redemption Arc discussion. I think the big name authors haven't really disappointed so far. I think all the stories we've read by them, they've been pretty great. So some hints of why I guess they have big names in the SF community. All right. As many characters said in these chapters we read for this week, let us start at the beginning of the section that we started, that we have for today's discussion. I think we left off with some banshees chasing Clavane and Antoinette in their ship, which is called Beast, and its sub persona is called Beast, and it expressed some interesting properties in this set of chapters. I think one of which happened in this first chapter, where Clavane was preparing to shoot at the Banshee ships, and Beast, or was it Mr. Beast or Beast? Am I thinking of the TV show Mr. Beast? Yeah, okay.
You're thinking of the YouTuber. The YouTuber, Mr. Beast. It wasn't him, although I wouldn't put it past his megalomaniac kind of ideas to be the AI persona of a spaceship in the future. I mean, that might be part of his overarching plan for sure.
Yeah, maybe the name is inspired from this book too. Anyway, Beast releases the weapons faster than Clavane wanted to, and seemingly it panicked, or at least that's the interpretation our people have. Other things happen too. I guess they defeat the Banshees and then they go back to Rust Belt, etc., etc. Anyway, what would you guys like to discuss about this chapter and I guess connected events throughout the rest of the chapters?
Okay, so Beast is the AI on the ship. Okay.
Yes.
That's right. Speaks like a butler. Begging pardon.
Speaks like a butler. Jeeves and Wooster, yeah, for sure.
There was one section here I had tagged, and with my little tags in the book there, and I told Chris earlier that I'm just going to see why the hell I tag these things as we go on here, because I have no idea. But we had it's Clavane. He said things moved around him glacially, and like the expressions on his host faces and stuff like that. And there was a delay between sending a nerve signal and watching his hand respond. So there was something going on with his response times as compared to time actually passing. And I didn't know what was up with that.
Oh, he's conjoiner, so he has implants. So you remember that first chapter where like Skade was exploring the ship, that Galliana, I believe her name was. came back in, and like we got a really detailed info dumpish thing of how her biological parts are not meshing quite well with her implants, because the implants move and think much faster than the biological parts do, and like she has to like mesh them together. So I I expect that Clavane is able to move much faster
Yeah.
thought
Yeah,
and join her implants.
that's correct. And I just found that interesting because it's one of those, sci-fi ideas that Reynolds has that that he throws in this, like the millions of ideas he has that he's throwing in this book, um, that is fascinating. Even if the characters aren't that fascinating, but the ideas are extremely fascinating.
Yeah, the ideas are, and I think that's the biggest thing that's working for me in this book, because it's possible it's the mood I was in, but there were a lot of things that I rolled my eyes up at a lot that happened in these chapters. It's not specifically what happens, maybe some of it, but like the dialogue, all of it, some of it feels a bit stunted to me overall. But I think I might like to read a lot more Reynolds books because of the ideas. Like if I ignore some of the writing
Yeah.
style stuff that bothers me, I think the rest of it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I liked was when they went to a bar after that little episode in space there, and they have they're ordering beers, and, and they have a squid floating in a tank, like a fish tank or whatever, and the side of the squid has commercials on it. It's just
Mm.
like, oh wow, that's funny.
What do you think of the? I guess I guess it made it a heritage site. It was a crash site that some guy's ship came in and
Sure.
destroyed that part of the carousel, but they called in some architects and made it pretty, and now it's a tourist thing. And I think I mentioned it once before. One of our characters, I forget if it's Antoinette or Xavier, they don't like
Mhm.
going there because it feels morbid to them. But then they took Clavane because it seems like enough of a tourist site that it's fun to go there, I guess.
Look. I live in a city that just celebrates the Titanic, so like it's
Okay.
that's the biggest tourist attraction that we have is this ship that never made its past its first journey. So I can relate to this quite a bit.
Makes sense. I could see that.
Yeah, but I think in general, this those kind of little aspects of the story where they do this kind of little bit of world building, um, and maybe I'm being very harsh, but they feel tacked on in order to give it life. Feels like it isn't really naturally occurring. It's almost like a literary device that is kind of putting in to give something a bit more resonance in life than it really has, because an awful lot of the story takes place on unnamed space, or not unnamed, but the kind of generic spaceship. You know, while they have different characteristics, these spaceships are still kind of like metal hulls. In the large part, they don't really have their own character. Same with the space stations. I think this is a problem that a lot of space operas generally have, is the fact that space is kind of one note. It's not diverse in the same way to tell stories, and a part of that may come from the fact that we as humans haven't experienced enough of space to get to know the diversification enough in that way. But so you're trying to inject character and history and things like that into these places, and while on one hand you can do that with monoliths and stuff from the first book, where they kind of say there's a history here. In this case, it sort of feels a bit tacked on, almost like it's a distraction, or like sort of artificial and man-made in some ways, which it is, but it also reads like that as well. And so I don't get an awful lot of character from any of these places now. They're just kind of named place, named ship, named even the different races, the banshees, etc., that end up capturing Lavian. just another race. We've got the conjoiners, we've got the spiders, we've got the zombies, we've got the pigs, we've got the demarchists, we've got all these factions, and some of those are even the same thing. But there isn't really an awful lot to differentiate them from one another until we get to technology parts where Clavine can use his implants and do 15 operations per second, and therefore experiences 15 seconds for every 1 second of real time. And that's sort of where you point out, Varsha, this book gets really cool. And an awful lot of these ideas get really cool. Is that you kind of go, okay, I'll revel in these little bits because they mean something. And same when the beast kind of goes outside of its kind of comfort level or whatever, and acts against what it way should normally do. That's interesting. That stage, the kind of the technology kind of playing with that little bit. You kind of read into it. You kind of hammer onto that and hold on to that, because the general, they visited this place, had a beer here, then went got back in the ship and went to another place, is just like, well, they may have just they could have done a 180 in the ship and went back to the same place. I don't think I would really know.
Yeah, good points.
On somewhat similar vein, I think what feels somewhat hollow to me is the interactions between the characters, especially I think particularly when they are giving information to each other. The dialogue is usually the other person just being dismissive of what is being said until like finally they're like, okay, cool, yeah, I believe you now. And the whole time they're just being dismissive. And this happened with Thorn and Anna. This happened with Clavane and the guy H. Yeah, sorry, Jared, go ahead.
No, that conversation between Anna and Thorn was kind of painful, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was very painful, actually. Yeah, it was.
I was just like, really? Come on. Like, just I like I told Chris earlier, I was like, I don't understand why they didn't just kill him and just say, let's go get somebody else or something. Or there's a different way to pull this plan off. You don't need him. It didn't feel like they needed him at all. And I just I don't know, his holding out wasn't believable to me. And then he sabotages the ship and goes in and flies into the space that they shouldn't fly into. And I was just like, this guy and his getting to Corey, this character we knew from the first book, who I just didn't feel like her development warranted him being able to manipulate her the way he did. And or just take charge of the way he did. I just felt like, based upon her characterization from the first book, she would have had way more control in the situation and would have been way more ready for it. And it didn't jive with me at all.
Because she's dangerous. She's the assassin. Yeah. She's the one that sort of played Volova, who was the Ultra. She took all these really dangerous people, and then there's some punk from the planet that she sort of gets to let play this game chicken. And on top of that, then his innate super sense of being able to tell when somebody's telling the truth versus not is just convenient for the story. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? She tells him story in the million years, just somehow I now believe you, and I knew you were telling me the lies beforehand. That part was I felt extremely painful. I was cringing at that part, going, this doesn't, you couldn't think of another way to get them to do these things or have to do these things that rather than you just been manipulating the other one. That bit felt not great, I have to say. Now, what actually happened when they got inside it, again, super cool with the black cubes and the black liquid and stuff coming in. Like, amazingly cool. Like, so good. And especially how that resolved. But how you got there just felt, this is a bit trite. This doesn't make sense with the characters that we've kind of got to know. Yeah.
I would have much more believed that Corey would have taken charge and said, I'm going in, because for my own reasons, rather than this knucklehead doing it. And I was just like,
And like the whole time, his skepticism didn't make sense either, right? Like, okay, fine, you're being skeptical. You're worried that, she's showing you a picture and it's not the actual window. So when she wants you to leave, and because there's something following you, you're like, oh no, how do I know you haven't painted something on the window for me to see? okay, but like at what point are you going to believe that what you're seeing is real? Like you haven't set any parameters that you can believe. And the guy's never left his planet, but suddenly he can just fly a spacecraft in such dangerous conditions. It's like you just saw her pulling some buttons and you think you know what to do. It just felt ridiculous to me, especially. Okay, I think there's a mild explanation for it in that they shared their minds for a few seconds when the inhibitors came close. But like with them now suddenly feeling desire for each other at the end of all of that, it's okay. This is completely unnecessary. I don't need that there. It wasn't adding anything to an already weird feeling situation. Yeah, I don't know. That whole scene was weird, and I think what do you think the end goal was? I feel like it was to one get us a closer look at the inhibitors and to get Sylvester involved again. But like you both said, there's probably so many other ways that they can do that without giving us this cringe fest of a dialogue.
Cringe fest. I like it.
And the end result of their relationship is unsatisfying as well. Like I find that deeply troubling, because it would have been so much cooler rather than it get to the point where he basically forced him into a situation where they could have been killed, kind of a bit foolhardy, and she could do nothing about it, which again is not that character. It would have been much more interesting if she had taken control of the situation, brought him in, and he comes away from the situation having respect for her for being a lot more dangerous than what he actually thought her to be. He thought he could play her, and if that had been flipped around and said, actually, you're dealing with somebody that, as we know from the first book, is actually very dangerous and a major player that took on really scary, evil people in the first book, you know, and was able to survive at that stage, that would have felt very satisfying, because again, you would have created a hierarchy between these characters of like, he's trying to act like a punk, but actually he was knocked down and shown his place sort of within the bigger scheme of these stories. And maybe that's for a literary reason. Like, I don't want to knock the fact that maybe he becomes something more, but Curry was well established as somebody that was very capable and would be able to think of her way, even without the help of the Mademoiselle, who will come to, in terms of getting through these things. So I was very frustrated with that entire scene. I think a lot of the other stuff outside of that of these 100 pages is very good, like I say, but that whole bit, I was like, oh, I just need to get past this bit because this is painful. This interaction that there is between these two characters, because it just doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I was reading it last night because I had like 80 pages to get through for our discussion today. And I was rolling my eyes a lot throughout. Like, there were a lot of cool ideas that I was like, oh, that's so cool. Tell me more. But there were also, I think I listed like 2 or 3 exchanges where I'm like, I wish we got this exchange in some other way. I think even in the part where Clavane was telling Antoinette and Xavier about the inhibitors, they were, I think, again, the whole cycle of like being dismissive and then until they believed it. Like, that sounds convenient, whatever. Like, it just feels like the characters were responding too quickly without thinking through what is being said. And all we are getting of their reaction, no expressions, no body language, nothing. It's just that like one-line responses as exchanges. And somehow that just made the whole thing feel quite clunky in how the information was exchanged and how people were reacting to it. And we didn't like get any POVs afterwards where we elaborated upon what they thought of the situation that was just mentioned to them, right? None of that. So the whole thing that we got of what they thought of this big momentous bit of information is how they are reacting to it in the moment. And it didn't feel like appropriate reaction either time. Both when H was telling him about that quantum vacuum business where apparently one guy was just like written off of existence. And she's like, no, he's delusional. She was delusional. No, she was she had a psychological illness. Like, he just kept on with that until he finally believed him. But like the switch was sudden. So yeah, but that said, the dialogue, disregarding the dialogue and how that was conveyed, what was conveyed, pretty damn cool. But anyway.
Yeah, and it's not exclusive to these 100 pages either. The whole justification for Antoinette coming back and saving Clavane was the fact that he let her live at the start, That felt
Mm.
clunky at that point. Now, there was a justification for it later on, but it still feels clunky, even though we see why it had to happen for him to come save him. Again, there had to be another way to set these two characters up as indebted to one another. Even if it was just by accident, Clevane saved her by accident, and she felt she had to go back and save him, even though that wasn't his intention or something. That would have fit more. Like, Clevane's a good character. Clevane's a really interesting character in a lot of ways. This guy's double defected and done all that kind of stuff. Like, there's so much to play with there. And especially when you're introducing them, they kind of just, I'll let you go this time, but don't let me see you again. The Butcher of Tharsis, like, you've got a name, you've got a reputation, and that's just not really it. It just feels clunky.
Yeah. We've read plenty of other stuff where a character does something. In this case, Antoinette going in and saving Clevane. We've read plenty of other stuff where a character does something like that, and we don't have a reason yet, and we find out the reason after, where it's written well, and you go, oh, okay, that's why. Whereas, like you guys said, it was clunky. It was it was it just it just it seemed like it was just doing it to get the characters to a certain place rather than having it be naturally evolving part of character development. Uh, that's interesting. I found it interesting that Corey Anna um, felt that she was being tortured when she was in the inhibitor space or whatever it was. And it was worse than anything that Mademoiselle had done to her.
Yes.
I was like, well, that's an interesting little tidbit there. That she
Yeah.
felt Mademoiselle actually exposed her to some sort of either psychological or whatever
Mm.
torture, um, with her reprogramming of her to make her into the assassin to go and kill Sylvester. Uh, very, very interesting little tidbit there. I thought that was cool. Little information we got, but
Yeah.
how she got there was cool. When she was there, it was cool.
Yeah. And she was there. It was cool.
Yeah.
While we're getting the information, it's cool. Speaking of Mademoiselle, I think we're getting some hints about who is in Skade's head as the Night Council. Do you think it's similar
I
to
hadn't
the
done that.
mm,
I
to
hadn't
the
thought of that.
yeah, because
Shit.
apparently Skade was trying to steal something from what they call the grub, um, and Mademoiselle had full control of him at the time, and and she's got a voice in her head that nobody else knows about. She's not allowed to tell anyone about, and it feels suspect the whole time. So I'm thinking it might be something similar to what Cootie had in her head with Mademoiselle, like similar to that, or I don't know about the timelines, like when Mademoiselle was killed, if she like did some kind of weird consciousness transfer or something, so that like now she's in her head the whole time. It's or she's seeing what the Mademoiselle was seeing because Mademoiselle is supposedly in communication with some alien entities, probably mental communication. So I wonder if Skate is being manipulated by Mademoiselle or someone who was also manipulating Mademoiselle.
Hmm.
Well, that was sort of explored last week, wasn't it? The fact that Skade was here in this Night Council, this Black Council,
Yeah.
if you want, or otherwise. So we knew that, but the fact that it might be Mademoiselle in some form, especially because we know her body can't be destroyed. This kind of, again, really cool exploration of the technology of how she's still alive and in this
Yeah.
shell that can't be done and all of that kind of stuff. Like, again, majorly cool, really interesting. Anytime that he has some sort of scientific explanation of something or something, like this book is so jam-packed full of them. I think you put the point earlier on that if you were an aspiring sci-fi author, Jared said before we started recording, you could take one idea from these books and just write an entire series of books on it. And there's just so many of them in here, and they're all majorly cool. They're really good for speculating on as well, as you've quite rightly pointed out. This idea of Mademoiselle still being present, even though we thought she was dead, and the fact that she has a physical form, she has a cybernetic form, and both could still be alive, even though we thought both were dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same with Sylvester as well, to be fair.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that she's possibly alien, right?
Yeah.
Like she's not.
Yeah, she seems to be at least part alien at this point, which, I mean, the inability to kill her, I think, at least tells us that much. So she came back from the shroud, completely changed, probably. And she also had the pattern juggler business going on with her at the time she went to the shroud.
Yeah.
So she must have come back a somewhat changed entity, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm starting to think the humans might stand a chance against the inhibitors. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we also got the inhibitor viewpoint again.
Oh yeah, again.
Where they said that they're not here to extinguish life, just hold it in check. It was kind of like, yeah, everything's cool. We're just watching over everything, keeping stuff in check. Don't worry. We just can't let you get out of hand.
and their ultimate purpose is to preserve life, apparently.
Yeah.
This sounds a bit like waging war to bring peace. So they will destroy life to preserve life. I need to know more about that reasoning. And
they look at it as an outbreak, like we have to control the deer population around here because they're out of hand, and they're spreading ticks everywhere, and because of previous hunting laws, not allowing deer hunting, now they're everywhere. As you can see on my channel, I post deer pictures every month, but that's like what the inhibitors are doing with humans in this book. They're out of control. They're populating too much. We gotta I'm just like, wow, I feel like an insect. Okay.
Yeah. And we also get this exploration. I mean, again, that scene where we thought Curry and the other doofus, Thorn, were going to die essentially at that stage. But we get this thing of shared consciousness that they have when they're kind of getting taken over by this black goo or otherwise. The fact that this kind of has this shared consciousness, which again is a little like the Shrouders, is a little like the Conjoiners. I mean, you have this confluence of technology, kind of all coming together and doing the same kind of things. Therefore, back to Skate again, kind of wondering about the origins of some of this technology, wondering about some of the origins of how this is all put together and how it might actually be way more interconnected than we even think it might be. Because again, you've got, in some ways, you have different fractions, but you've got Hades that's also very similar to all this, again, the shared consciousness and this idea that Sylvester was able to follow behind their ship at all times. Again, that was cool. It does reveal very well this as well, like that idea of what that was following them. I mean, you're a liar if you said it was Sylvester at any stage when you were doing it. I didn't get that at all. But again, that revealed that that's all possible, that he's able to watch that and he's still existing from this point, and he still has a part to play in this story, just like Mademoiselle, just like these characters that we thought were gone. Again, it's majorly cool in this story because it's created this playfield of anything's possible. Death isn't important in this story. And again, they set that up with the idea that the Conjoiners are not reliant on their human body. Skade just existed as a head for a good 4 chapters there, which is cool in its own right. So yeah, loads of really interesting ideas, and especially when you come with this kind of idea, the black sludge. And I know you're making your way through Expanse at the moment, Varsha. You might have been on a bit of a pause for a while, but it's its similarity to the proto-molecule cannot be escaped in any
Oh
way.
yeah.
It just feels so similar.
And also not just the proto-molecule, the other thing, I guess the larger problem that
Mm,
comes up, which I won't say for spoiler reasons, but we can talk about after. But that's what feels like the inhibitors to me.
yes.
Um, so yeah, I mean, you were saying earlier that you can take any one idea and run with it. This, I mean, I don't know how much this series influenced the authors of The Expanse, but you could make an argument for they took this one idea and ran with it for that entire series, right? The inhibitors.
Right.
I guess
I,
the inhibitors are the connect. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and also, I think I can make a very strong case that Alastair Reynolds has watched all of Babylon 5 as well. I mean, there's a lot
Mm,
of ideas in the TV series Babylon 5 that are present in the genesis of the story
interesting.
and the kind of
Mm,
overarching thing. So, if anybody likes these books and hasn't seen Babylon 5, watch the first 4 series. Don't bother with the fifth one.
okay, I must check it out. Babylon 5. Okay,
Babylon 5. Oh, it's so
interesting.
good. But
I
you'll
tried.
see an awful lot of overlap with that.
Yeah.
Mm.
I tried watching it. I fell asleep. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, get past the first series. Actually, it's all in series 2 and 3.
Oh,
Series 1, they do lots of really cool callbacks to series 1, the stuff that they set up in the first series, but the story is series 2, 3, and 4 essentially at that stage. So, and it's majorly cool.
Nice.
It's very
Gotta check
space
that out.
opera-ish. Yeah.
Yes, I'm making a list of sci-fi stuff to watch because that's what we like to watch during
Yeah.
dinner lately. So this should be fun. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. What about the Xavier escaping using some emergency program? That was another thing that felt awfully clunky to me. It's like very similar to the Curie Thorn section where we needed to get from point A to point B, and we just like sort of brute forced our way there somehow. And um, so I think the end goal of that was to bring everyone together, and so they
Mhm.
needed to put these guys in a really dangerous situation. But I don't know. I wasn't too happy with the decisions that Xavier made. It felt like stupid people decisions. I don't know why he thought that the police would be safer than these two, and what they were. How could you? How do you have better chances of escaping in space than you do in a carousel where there are other people around who can help? I don't. Anyway, that bit annoyed me too. That also felt like needed to go from A to B. It doesn't matter how we get there.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, one of them was a pig.
That's true. So more dangerous overall.
I mean,
But he,
the revelation that was Remontoire and Scorpio, I think, was a good reveal.
yeah,
I
that
mean,
was true.
again, they're not those characters are not that stupid that every time I went, oh, hold on, I've just got to do this thing before I go talk to you, that they couldn't see that was going to be some sort of fail safe. Again, felt sort of clunky, but sort of
Yeah,
thing. The viciousness of the servitor droid thing as well, in terms of its ability to
yeah,
kill the conjoiner and
yeah.
Scorpio, again felt a bit overpowered, but again.
yeah.
Okay, whatever. It created a bit of threat and a bit of excitement in it. I think he did that in the first book. Do you remember with the wasn't the simulation that the battle simulation that they all went into? He did something similar
Mm,
in that
All
kind of
right.
gory scene. I felt that was quite similar to that from Revelation
yeah,
Space in terms
that's
of
true.
creating a bit of jeopardy for our characters. But the idea to get the band back together as it was, again, that reveal of the time jump and all of that kind of stuff again was very satisfying and cool.
Mm, yeah, yeah,
To it. So yeah, I mean, I'm sort of conflicted
yeah.
about a lot
There's
of this stuff
so
because
much
there's so
hot
much
and
good.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. What did
But
you
then,
guys make of this character H,
Mr. H. Yeah,
Mr. H?
very
Mr.
X Files,
H. Mm,
like deep throat kind of
Yeah. Well, he
thing.
he he kind of embodies the name of the book, Redemption Ark, which
Mm,
I thought was like
yeah,
wicked
that's
on the
interesting.
nose when when he gives his little speech. He's like, and like Clavane asked him, "Why would you be interested in redemption?" He says, "Well, let me explain it to you," and and he does, and it goes on for a while, and uh, and I was just like, this is just like that that you see this in movies sometimes. This
Mhm.
enigmatic rich guy comes out of nowhere and says, "All right, I've interfered. I'm gonna put all these people together because I need to make up for something that I did bad in my previous life." And it was I was just like, that's so that's like so unoriginal. And I was just like, oh wow, I couldn't believe he put that kind of a situation in here, where this guy who has some sort of influence or power or money, um, puts himself into this place where he can kind of threaten our characters, but also build them up to make them into a unit to work together at the same time. And it was I thought it was very unoriginal, the introduction of this character, and I was just like, wow, I didn't expect that in this book at all. And I um I was kind of disappointed, to be honest with you, because he brought it. He just magically meshed the uh, the Clavane and the pig and all these people and Madame as well. You know, he
Mhm.
has her in her chamber, her dead body or whatever, and it was just it was a bit too, I don't know, convenient, I guess, and blockbuster movie like, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought so too, like the blockbuster movie, but it was this especially, but there were a few other things that sort of stood out to me as borrowed from action movies that I tend to dislike. um, but yeah, like it's sort of like to move things along, right? Especially the Xavier action scene with the ship. This it feels like characters just do things that don't make sense because like we need to get somewhere with it. But anyway, yeah, I think
Yeah,
I
but
think I agree with you, Jared. Yeah.
yeah, I don't mind the character of H because what we got through H was the background of Mademoiselle. We got to hear the
Mm.
background story of Mademoiselle
We did.
through him. And for him to have known that or doing that, this sort of overarching kind of megalomaniac character does sort of make sense. Like an awful lot of story for sort of having this oversight of everything that's actually going on or what they think's going on, and that they would need somebody like Clavane to come in and fill in the gaps for him. Like that does make sense. A bit like a again, don't want to make a reference to somebody else, another space opera, but he's the elusive man out of Mass Effect as well. Mass Effect 2, if anybody's ever played that, he's it's a very similar archetype and character to that as well. Um, Again, another space opera. Uh, but so, like, yes, his overall use in the story, I'm not sure once we get past this kind of developmental stage of the plot, who he is, what he ends up doing. Does he just die by his own hand or something in a rather stupid way because he's in over his head? Because again, the stakes that are playing this in this war galaxy thing are way more than he can comprehend. I think at the moment, I think that's quite fair to say. He's sort of in and out of his depth, and I think even to a certain point, we get the sense that he appreciates that himself. You know, in terms of that he's kind of he's got Clavane involved, even though he'd rather not because Clavane's a wild character, you know, has a lot switched sides and done all of that kind of stuff beforehand. So maybe not the best person, but also maybe the best person. We'll find out once he hears about Kuri. He's going to be freaking all over the moon because there's somebody else that's kind of flip flopped and done lots of those things as well. You know, moved from one side to the other one. Actually knows Mademoiselle. Like holy shit, that's going to blow his mind. But um, I quite like the introduction of his characters.
Yeah.
Just another unnamed kind of entity to develop and tell us a bit more story.
Yeah. What I did like was the story about the guy who didn't exist. I thought that was pretty cool. Uh, and I'm kind of wondering how that's going to tie into everything because uh, well, it was and it was that one scientist who knew he existed, but
Hmm.
she thought she was going, or everybody thought she was not her, but everybody else thought she was going crazy because no, I have this assistant. What are you guys talking about? And they're all like, "What do you mean? There's no assistant." And I was just like, that was pretty freaky. That was pretty cool. I really liked that part of it.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was really cool. I thought for a moment that they had some like exchange between parallel universes or something, but it seems like it's much more sinister than that. It's within this world's timeline. The guy got wiped out of existence, which yeah, that's
Yeah,
really scary. I'm curious to see what he does with that.
his
But
entire life story had been unstitched from our reality right back to the point when he was killed during the melding plague. So she experienced him being in a a scientific a scientist in her lab with her, but everybody else sees his records as dying during the
he
melding
died.
plague. And I'm just like, wow, that there's so much to think about there. That's like really cool, and I wonder how that's gonna I wonder how it's gonna play out. But
So there's a couple of points I'll make about that. One was I didn't know where that story was going at that stage when he was telling it because again I was like, what does it mean? And then again the resolution of that story was a massive reveal. It felt like because
yeah,
it feels like it has plot implications rather than just being a story about another scientist. Also think about the fact that, and I don't necessarily am making a claim or a judgment on this at all. I just think it's interesting that the presence of that unstitched reality is not that dissimilar to the Night Council. This fact that people can only hear these voices or see these people in one aspect, and we kind of have them as implants or something in the head, but the reality of it is not that different for those two individuals. That kind of scientist who knew about the existence of that person, that could talk to that person, and then everybody else going, "You're crazy," is not that different from the implants and the conversations in people's heads and stuff. And again, there's
Hmm.
this overlap of technologies and ideas that is happening right across this world in lots of different ways. And in one, we get a full explanation for this one, which is why it feels like a plot point, I think, to me, rather than just a cool story, bro. You know.
Yeah, interesting. I like that. I'd really like to see where that thread goes or what else they do with unstable quantum vacuums, which the
yeah.
inhibitors have to know about, right? Because they were supposedly the OG inertia manipulators. Also, the grub was apparently hanging out on this planet for millions of years, uh,
Yeah.
which
The grub.
could, yeah, the alien with the anti inertia technology that Cade stole was
Oh,
apparently living in Chasm City, like on that Yellowstone planet, for millions of years and kept itself alive somehow. And then Mademoiselle kept it alive after, tortured it a little bit. And well, Mademoiselle didn't, other people did. And that's cool. I'd like to know, and I don't know why they call it grub, but that's interesting. What kind of alien was it? Is it maybe one of the
Mhm.
creators of inhibitors?
hmm.
Because it knows how to manipulate inertia, and the
Wow,
inhibitor machines do too.
Yeah.
wow. A little casual torture. Okay.
Just a little
Uh,
casual torture.
Jesus. Uh,
Yeah.
oh,
More
Some
fun stuff.
casual torture.
I found what really bugged me about the age character
Hmm.
when he's
Oh.
when he's giving his spiel, about why they all need to work together, and he
Hmm.
pauses to go to the grand piano and play six bleak notes before slamming the cover down and going on. I was just like,
I
what is this, a James Bond movie? I mean, I thought that was so
Cynical.
ridiculous. But
I completely missed that because I was panic reading that chapter just before I discovered it.
that was at near the end of the last chapter we just read.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, come
And
on.
and then he was about to jump off a building, right? Before that zebra person stopped him.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because he
He
felt
was
like his mission was accomplished. He's done his redemption thing. He can move on now.
his
But
true love stopped him.
yeah, his true love stopped him.
It's like, wow, this guy has a flair for drama, definitely. Oh well.
What
But
else?
the scientist not existing, that was like that kept me like, okay, this is so interesting.
If you had to
Definitely.
decide now based on what we've read so far, would you continue on to the next book or not?
Right now, no, I gotta see what happens to the next
Mm,
200 pages or so, whatever we're doing here.
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, I
I need more
I
info.
can't leave this story off. I mean, if we do 2 books, we're doing 3 in my head. Like my brain doesn't work like that. Even if the end of this book's absolute trash, I'd still be like, but I need to know what happens in the third
No,
book.
no. If there's bears that can sense
Space
menstruation, then
Bears.
I'm done.
I mean, even that. I mean, I would trust Reynolds to do this quite well. It's menstruating bears. Bears that use
Space
menstruation as a
bears.
superpower. Yeah, I can get on
Oh,
board with that.
Space
That's not bad. That
bears.
one.
Yeah, he's done pigs and monkeys. Just throw some bears in there.
yeah. Well, yeah, we could get bears. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
All
could
right.
happen.
Yeah.
What
Well,
about Scorpio?
if somebody kills somebody with a broken CD,
Ah,
then we're out.
Yes.
Love Actually.
Then
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
out. That's our cue to
yeah.
leave and never come back. You were saying Scorpio?
So Scorpio, yes, we got this whole play on Scorpio as this very honor code that he would never help humanity and he can't do it. He just hates them all. And then next time we see him, he helped them, and it was off screen. It's sort of like the chapter ended and it was like, oh, I can't do it. I'm not helping you. I'm not helping you. It's not doing it. And then it was like, oh, I saved you. It's like pigs can only belie their true nature.
Yeah.
I still don't get the pig thing. I don't like. I'm trying to like. Why are they in there? I'm not quite sure what's going on with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just enjoying imagining pigs on two legs.
I mean, that's fine for what it is, but
Yeah.
I don't get the storyline part of that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I'm really like, okay, there's pigs, okay. Why not just another faction, or why not just I'm kind of lost on that one.
Yeah.
Well, they are genetically bred, aren't they? I mean, they're
Yeah.
not
Yep.
they're not naturally occurring race. They are something that is
Correct.
genetically bred and sort of like born out of another race, if that makes sense. So again, maybe there's something of that plays into it. But yes,
I,
it does feel a bit
I just don't. Yeah.
weird.
I'm hoping he gives us a reason for that being in the story.
Yeah.
I don't feel that yet. I don't see where he's going with that. Um, there should be some sort of build up and resolution to a like it seems just another throwaway idea on his part, because like we said before, you could do a whole series of books on genetically bred animals become sentient type of thing, but where's Reynolds going with it in this story? I'm just kind of lost with that, because you have a lot of other stuff going on here and you're throwing this in. What's the resolution of that going to be? What's the outcome of that going to be? Is it going to be significant enough for us to care about? And I don't feel that that's the case yet. We'll see.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
All I can think
Anything?
about is the Muppets. Pigs in space.
so all the people who say when pigs fly, now pigs can fly, right? Like not fly with wings, but in spaceships and stuff.
There you go.
So
There you go.
Yeah, it does remind me. This is going to fall flat in its face, but I'm going to tell this joke anyway. It's a joke that stand-up told once about the pigs, and it's a story about guys walking through the woods, and he runs into a squirrel, and he says, "Geez, you looking very pleased with yourself, Mister? What are you so happy about?" He says, "Oh, I just killed a bear." The guy goes, "You killed the bear? How did you kill the bear?" He says, "Kill the bear with my club." He says, "With a club? You, the squirrel, killed. What size was the bear? Was it like a baby bear or something?" He says, "No. It was a full size, big black bear. I killed it." He says, "Jeez, how do you do it?" He says, "I killed him with my club. I told you." And he says, "But how did you kill him with a club? Like, what size is the club?" He says, "No, I wouldn't worry about it. There's about 1,000 of us." So maybe the pigs are like, there's like 1,000 of them. They're like an army of just like almost like ants. And they've been bred this way because he's talking about getting his friends all together and he gets to handpick his crew and all that kind of stuff. So maybe they're just that crew of people that are going to go on and take on the inhibitors. All his pigs.
The pigs take on inhibitors.
So the inhibitors are the space bears. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cube-shaped space bears. All right, are we ready to talk about passing as a flower in the city of the dead?
Wow.
We are more than ready.
We are more than ready. Our synopsis for the passing of the flower in the city of the dead, for this story that you loved, Barsha. I mean, it's one of your favorites, or will be, maybe, so to speak. It tells the story of a woman who goes to a planet to be with her ill, deformed husband of some sort, some very seriously ill person because for love. This planet is only for people with very serious disease, and she invents and gets treatment for an imaginary disease of lupus. She must have watched House, lots of series of House for the have lupus, and she goes to live there, and then it turns out that it was for naught because love doesn't withstand societal pressures or judgment of people with non-disabilities giving up a good life to go live for somebody else, and she did it for nothing. There you go.
Oh no, that's sad. I only read half of the story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad and not sad in some ways because it was sort of like what everybody told her they would do. They kind of kept her bone marrow or something behind so that when she wanted to return to Earth from Blues, that she could and she could return there at that stage. But she was determined that she wouldn't do it because she told everybody what love lasts forever. I've romanticized the story way more than it actually appears in the page, I feel. Because, if it had had that emotional depth, I think I might have liked it a bit more than what it is. As it is, it just kind of, it was interesting, but seemed to veer off and swerve all over the place for me in terms of how the story was told.
Yeah. Well, one of the thematic lines that runs through the story is the people without individual immune systems had formed a larger, more potent immune system to reject her. So basically, these people who were sick and had to live in this planet away from Earth rejected her, made her the other, and I think that I thought that was actually interesting about the revelation of her keeping the cells or the information on Earth in case she needed to return was pretty good. I thought for the story, I thought that that's what was her downfall, was the fact that she kept that information on Earth because people told her to. People said, "You're gonna want to do this," and she was like, "No, I don't have to do this." But then she ended up doing it anyways, and it ended up being a point of contention to the place she was in.
Because the people in the Blues are forced to live there and together. Do you know what I mean? They've been doing it, and the idea that somebody would choose to live among them is almost like a sign of pity to them. It was almost like you're not living the life that we would have wanted to live. We've been forced to live here, and they're making the best of it and whatever. But she's not one of them because of it, and it's it's like a reverse tale of disability or whatever way you want to do it in my eyes, because he's choosing to live a compromised life with people that really would much rather live the life that she gave up, regardless of love or otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So does the husband fall out of love with her, or does she feel compelled to leave because of
He does.
societal pressures?
Yeah, he does.
Mm.
He actually falls with somebody else.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the yeah, so that happens. I thought it was interesting that she says that line, civilization diminishes proportionally to the distance from Paris. Of course, they're as far away from Paris as possible, and and the civilization seems to be a facade that she keeps encountering as the story goes on.
Yeah, and her husband has a French name as well, Henri. So
Yeah, Henri, which is a great name.
Kind of tied all together. Yeah,
It's a great.
I should change my name to Henri.
That is my name.
And
So
I'm Henri at the start of every episode. That might be way cooler than I am Chris.
Should I do that? I am Henri.
You'd still go last, Chris.
Okay, if you're Henri, I'll be Jacques.
Jacques.
Yeah, and just little things, little touches like that. How Blues is the city of the dead, and and there was one time where a child spoke to her, kind of blurting out a truth, and she's like, "Oh, for a knife as sharp as a child's tongue." I really liked that line. I thought that was pretty good.
And there's a scene with the cut. She was gonna die. This liquid is spilling out of her body.
Yeah,
she's gonna die, and No, there was good. There was good stuff in it. It sort of maybe it felt too long. By the time I got the last 2 pages, it was like, okay, this is what this is about. If you know what I mean. Before that, it felt a little bit kind of, like I say, meandering. And by the time I got to the fact where she walks in and her husband Henri was somebody else, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And then we get the flashback to her leaving Earth at that stage, and it sort of fills in the gaps very quickly at that stage. But before that, it was like, yeah, but what or why? But yeah, interesting story. Another one to add to the list for sure.
Yeah, sounds good. I will finish it tonight.
Yeah, we don't got much left, so yes.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we wrap up?
No. 2 weeks left of Redemption Ark.
Yes, 2 weeks left. And then a book that I've been looking forward to reading for a really long time. Solaris. Yeah. So we'll see you all next week with... Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just agreeing with you. That I was looking forward to reading it as well.
Yeah. What's the short story for next week again?
New Rose Hotel by William Gibson.
William Gibson, New Rose Hotel, and chapters 24 through 28 of Redemption Ark.
Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.